Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Russia and Ukraine and strategy because we are roughly 600 days into this 3-day operation. And the results for Russia have not really been favorable thus far, in the sense of the wider geopolitical war. Russia lost almost immediately. As soon as other nations started signing up with NATO and citing this conflict as a reason, it was over for the wider geopolitical war. The fighting on the ground is something else. Russia has not done well there either. It's devolved into a hyper-violent real estate transaction. Russia retains, roughly less than half of what it was able to secure in the opening days. They're losing that too. One of the more interesting developments that has recently come to light is Russia's use of Kitchen and Kodiak missiles, how they're being used. For those that don't know a lot about these things, these are high-end items. They are high-end items. A Kitchen is something you would deploy against like a carrier group. They're for high-value targets. Russia is hitting grain silos with them. Now, Western analysts, they're saying, well, that's obviously because they lack PGMs, precision-guided munitions. And that's probably true. That's probably true. But there's also a little bit of mockery going on with it, saying, ha ha ha, silly Russians, look at them wasting these things that should really be used for high-value targets on grain silos. Yeah, the saying isn't silly Russians. Since the start of the conflict, disrupting the grain flow, that was something that Russia did. But it may have transferred from something that was done to limit support and the finances of Ukraine to more of a strategic objective, making the grain silo a high-value target. Given the fact that Russia has gone from a country that was perceived as a near peer to a country that is getting military aid from North Korea in 600 days, they may be reevaluating their victory conditions and how they hope to achieve them. They may be hoping to disrupt the grain supply enough to put a lot of pressure on Western powers to get them to say it's just not worth it. Or maybe to push for some kind of deal that lets Russia keep what it's gotten so far, what it's been able to hold on to. And the civilians that need the food all over the world, all over the global south, well, from the Russian perspective, I guess that really just doesn't matter. Because the louder they cry out for help, the more pressure there is on the West. That's the way they're looking at it. Western analysts, those that are actually advising the policymakers, they're probably looking at that in a very different way. And in fact, this too may end up creating the exact opposite reaction that Russia is hoping to achieve. Just like we don't want NATO countries near us, so we're going to invade Ukraine. And then they get a bunch of NATO countries near them. This is probably going to have a similar result because right now, the grain from Ukraine, yeah, it's being shipped all over the world. But in 100 years, a lot of the places getting it, they're going to be uninhabitable. And that grain will go to Europe. Every one of these $1 million missiles that hits one of these grain silos might be serving as a reminder to Europe that for the sake of European food security, they can't let Russia get it. Europe learned by becoming over-reliant on Russia for energy. I doubt they're going to make that mistake again. You're probably going to see a whole bunch of analysts mocking them using these missiles against these targets, and I get it on some level. It is a very bizarre turn of events, but I don't think it's without reason. I think Russia is hoping to create so much devastation around the world that it puts pressure on Europe to back off. I don't think that's going to be the outcome, but I think that's their plan. I think the outcome, if they're paying attention at all, the advisors that are talking directly to policymakers, they're probably not thinking in a transactional, looking just at this conflict type of thing. They're thinking 20, 50, 100 years down the road. And every one of those strikes just reminds them of the importance of keeping Ukraine in the fight. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.